Close your eyes and breathe deeply as we journey through the remarkable story of human evolution, a tale spanning millions of years that connects you to every living thing on Earth. Let your body relax completely as we explore the fascinating path that led to your existence, each breath bringing you closer to peaceful sleep, while your mind absorbs these gentle truths about our shared ancestry. Our story begins not with humans, but with the first stirrings of life itself, in warm ancient oceans where simple cells floated and divided, carrying within them the seeds of everything you would become. Imagine those first molecules organizing themselves into something that could reproduce, could adapt, could survive. And know that those same fundamental processes still operate within every cell of your relaxing body right now. The journey from those simple beginnings to complex life took billions of years, each generation building upon the last, tiny changes accumulating like grains of sand forming mountains. And you are the beneficiary of every single successful adaptation that came before. Your ancestors survived ice ages and droughts, predators and diseases, countless challenges that shaped the very structure of your DNA. And as you lie here in safety and comfort, you carry that resilient heritage within you. The story of human evolution specifically begins around 7 million years ago in Africa, when our lineage split from the ancestors of modern chimpanzees. Though both species share a common ancestor that lived in the forests of that ancient continent. Picture those early primates moving through lush green canopies, their hands grasping branches, their eyes focused forward to judge distances, their social groups forming bonds that would echo through millions of years into your own capacity for connection and love. These distant relatives were not yet human, but they carried the potential for humanity within them, just as an acorn carries the mighty oak. One of the most significant developments in our evolutionary story was bipedalism, the ability to walk upright on two legs, which began to appear around 6 to 7 million years ago and transformed everything about how our ancestors lived. Walking upright freed the hands for carrying food, tools, and infants, allowed our ancestors to see over tall grasses to spot both prey and predators, and helped regulate body temperature by reducing the surface area exposed to the scorching sun. The shift to bipedalism wasn't sudden but gradual, taking millions of years and countless generations, each individual slightly better adapted to upright walking than their parents. Small improvements compounding across vast stretches of time. Early bipedal ancestors like Sahelanthropus tichidensis and Ororin tugenensis walked the earth millions of years ago, their fossils now precious clues to our origin. Fragments of bone that whisper stories of how we came to be. As you relax deeper into sleep, consider that every step you take connects you to those first tentative upright strides millions of years ago. Your body designed by eons of walking ancestors who passed this gift to you. The Australopithecines emerged around 4 million years ago, with famous representatives like Lucy, whose remarkably complete skeleton revealed so much about our ancient family tree. Lucy and her kind stood about 3 to 4 feet tall, walked upright but still climbed trees, and had brains roughly the size of a modern chimpanzee, living in the transitional world between forest and savanna. These creatures were not fully human, but they were undeniably our relatives, sharing crucial characteristics that would define the human lineage, including bipedal locomotion and social group living. For millions of years, various Australopithecine species inhabited Africa, adapting to changing climates and environments. Some lineages thriving, while others disappeared into extinction's vast archive. The Australopithecines show us that human evolution was not a straight line from ape to human, but rather a branching bush with many species coexisting, experimenting with different ways of being. most branches ending, but one leading eventually to you. Let your breathing slow as you contemplate these ancient relatives, who walked on two legs beneath the same moon that now shines outside your window. Their struggles and successes written into your genetic code. Around 2.5 million years ago, the genus Homo emerged, marked by larger brains and the first clear evidence of stone tool use, a technological revolution that would define human evolution. Homo habilis, whose name means handy man, created simple stone tools by striking rocks together to create sharp flakes, tools used for cutting meat, processing plant materials, and accessing bone marrow rich in nutrients. These early tools, called Alduin tools after the site where they were first discovered, represent a cognitive leap, requiring the ability to imagine a tool before it existed, and the patience to create it through deliberate action. Tool use existed before Homo habilis, as even modern chimpanzees use sticks to fish for termites and stones to crack nuts, but the systematic creation of stone tools marked something new. A growing capacity for abstract thought and planning. As these early humans made tools, they were also reshaping their own evolution, because tool use favored individuals with greater manual dexterity, better hand-eye coordination, and enhanced cognitive abilities, creating a feedback loop where technology and biology evolve together. Feel your hands resting comfortably as you drift towards sleep, those remarkable hands that evolved for grasping branches, then shaping tools, then writing and creating all the complex tasks that fill your days, millions of years of evolution expressed in every movement. Around 1.8 million years ago, Homo erectus appeared, the first human ancestor to have body proportions similar to modern humans, with longer legs and shorter arms, clearly adapted for long-distance walking and running on open grasslands. Homo erectus was the first human species to migrate out of Africa, spreading into Asia and Europe, venturing into new environments and adapting to challenges their ancestors never faced. Pioneers of the human diaspora. These ancient travelers brought with them not just their biology but their culture, including more sophisticated tools called Acheulean hand axes, teardrop-shaped stone implements that remained largely unchanged for over 1 million years, the longest-lasting technology in human history. Homo erectus may have been the first human ancestor to control fire, a mastery that provided warmth, protection from predators, a means to cook food making nutrients more accessible, and a gathering place for social interaction as darkness fell. The use of fire represents another pivotal moment in human evolution, extending the day into night, allowing our ancestors to inhabit colder climates, transforming diet and digestion, and creating the hearthside as humanity's first living room where stories could be shared and bonds strengthened. Imagine those ancient fires flickering in the darkness, groups of Homo erectus gathering around the flames for warmth and safety. The same basic human need for light and warmth that you satisfy so easily now with the simple flip of a switch. Millennia of innovation condensed into effortless comfort. Homo erectus survived as a species for nearly 2 million years, far longer than modern humans have existed. A successful experiment in being human that endured through dramatic climate changes and continental shifts. Let this fact comfort you as you settle into sleep, knowing that your lineage is one of remarkable endurance and adaptability, survivors of countless challenges across unimaginable spans of time. The human brain began to expand significantly during the time of Homo erectus and continued growing in subsequent species, driven by complex factors including diet, social complexity, and tool use. Brain tissue is metabolically expensive, requiring enormous amounts of energy, so the expansion of the brain required changes in diet, particularly increased access to calorie-dense foods like meat and cooked starches. The social brain hypothesis suggests that human intelligence evolved primarily to navigate complex social relationships, to cooperate and compete with other humans, to understand intentions and form alliances, skills that required increasingly sophisticated cognitive abilities. Living in groups provided protection and enabled collective hunting of large animals, but it also created social challenges requiring the ability to remember relationships, anticipate others' actions, and communicate effectively. As brains grew larger, childbirth became more difficult, since larger brains meant larger heads that had to pass through the birth canal, leading to human infants being born at an earlier developmental stage compared to other primates, more helpless and dependent for longer periods. This extended childhood created the need for more intensive parenting and allowed for extended learning, with human children having years to absorb culture, language, and skills from their elders before reaching maturity. Your own childhood, however recent or distant, echoes millions of years of human development, that long period of dependency and learning that makes us uniquely human. Our flexibility and creativity purchased through years of vulnerability and growth. As you relax into deeper rest, know that your brain, that magnificent organ that allows you to think and dream and wonder, is the result of millions of years of evolution, shaped by the needs and challenges of countless generations. Around 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens emerged in Africa, our own species, anatomically modern humans with high foreheads, smaller faces, and distinctive chins, bodies essentially identical to yours today. The earliest known Homo sapiens fossils come from Morocco and date to approximately 300,000 years ago, though the species likely evolved gradually from earlier human ancestors over tens of thousands of years. For most of their existence, Homo sapiens lived alongside other human species, including Neanderthals in Europe and Asia, Denisovans in Asia, and Homo floresiensis, the so-called hobbits of Indonesia, a world of human diversity now lost except for our single surviving lineage. These other human species were not primitive or inferior, but were intelligent, adapted to their environments, and in the case of Neanderthals, had brains as large or larger than modern humans. Neanderthals buried their dead, created art, made sophisticated tools, and survived in Ice Age Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. Their robustness and adaptation to cold climates representing a different but equally valid way of being human. When Homo sapiens migrated out of Africa around 70 to 80,000 years ago, they encountered these other human species and didn't simply displace them, but interbred with them, incorporating their genes into our lineage. If you are of non-African descent, approximately 2 to 3% of your DNA comes from Neanderthals, genes that still influence your immune system, skin color, hair texture, and even your circadian rhythms. Denisovan DNA is found in modern populations from Oceania and Asia, contributing genes that help Tibetans live at high altitudes and may influence immune function in various populations. This means you are not purely Homo sapiens, but carry within you the genetic legacy of multiple human species, a living mosaic of humanity's diverse past. Let this knowledge bring you peace as you drift towards sleep, understanding that you contain multitudes, that ancient humans of several species contributed to your existence, their survival ensured through you. The story of human evolution is not one of inevitable progress toward perfection, but rather of adaptation to changing circumstances, of survival through flexibility rather than specialization. Many human species evolved, thrived for hundreds of thousands of years, and then disappeared, not because they were failures but because circumstances changed and they were too specialized to adapt. Homo sapiens survived not because we were stronger than Neanderthals or more cold-adapted than Denisovans, but because we were generalists, adaptable, able to live in almost any environment and modify our behavior, rather than waiting for our bodies to evolve new adaptations. This behavioral flexibility is your inheritance, the ability to learn new skills, adopt new strategies, and thrive in changing circumstances. A resilience bred over millions of years and residing within you now. The development of complex language is one of humanity's most important evolutionary innovations, though the precise timing of its emergence remains debated among scientists. Language required not just cognitive capacity, but also specific anatomical adaptations, including changes to the larynx, tongue, and throat that allow the production of complex sounds. The FOXP2 gene, sometimes called the language gene, shows evidence of selection in the human lineage and is associated with speech and language abilities, though language clearly involves far more than a single gene. Language transformed human life by allowing the transmission of complex information, the coordination of group activities, the sharing of knowledge across generations, and the creation of shared stories that bound communities together. With language came the ability to discuss things not immediately present, to plan for the future, to tell stories about the past, to create myths and religions that gave meaning to existence. Your ability to understand these words, to follow complex ideas, and create mental images from abstract symbols, is the product of hundreds of thousands of years of language evolution. Your brain's specially wired for this uniquely human capacity. Even as you drift towards sleep and language fades, your dreaming brain will continue to generate narratives and images. That storytelling capacity so fundamental to human consciousness that it persists even in unconsciousness. Around 70 to 100,000 years ago, human culture began to show clear evidence of symbolic thinking, with artifacts like shell beads, ochre pigments, and decorated objects appearing in the archaeological record. These items served no practical purpose for survival but represented something more profound: the ability to create meaning, to use objects as symbols, to express identity and status, to create beauty for its own sake. Cave paintings from 30 to 40,000 years ago show remarkable artistic sophistication, depicting animals with grace and accuracy, preserving the worldview of Ice Age humans who lived in intimate relationship with the animals they hunted. These ancient artists mixed pigments, created brushes and tools, worked by firelight in deep caves, and left messages that still speak across tens of thousands of years. Their hands pressed against cave walls, creating signatures that say, "I was here, I existed, I mattered." When you look at photographs of these ancient artworks, you are seeing the work of people whose brains were identical to yours, whose capacity for thought and feeling matched your own, separated from you only by time and circumstance, not by any fundamental difference in humanity. The humans who created these paintings loved and feared, hoped and mourned, laughed and cried, experienced the full range of human emotion that you know. Their inner lives as rich and complex as your own. Let yourself feel connected to these ancient artists as you fall asleep, knowing that the same creative spark that moved them to beautify dark caves moves you to create and appreciate beauty in your own life. Human evolution has been profoundly shaped by climate change, with ice ages and warm periods driving migration, adaptation, and sometimes extinction over the past 2 million years. During glacial periods, sea levels dropped as water locked up in ice sheets, creating land bridges that allowed humans and animals to migrate to new continents, including the first humans who entered the Americas. The ice ages weren't constant cold, but fluctuated with warmer and colder periods, creating a constantly changing environment that favored flexible, adaptable species like Homo sapiens. Our ancestors survived periods when much of the northern hemisphere lay buried under ice sheets kilometers thick, when Europe and North America were frozen wastelands inhabited by woolly mammoths, cave bears, and hardy humans who learned to thrive in extreme cold. These Ice Age humans developed sophisticated technologies including fitted clothing, well-insulated shelters, and specialized hunting techniques to bring down large game animals that provided food, fur, and materials for survival. The ability to innovate, to solve problems through cultural rather than biological adaptation, to pass knowledge from generation to generation through teaching and learning, enabled humans to colonize nearly every environment on Earth, from tropical rainforests to Arctic tundra, from coastal regions to high mountain valleys. By 10,000 years ago, as the last ice age ended and the climate warmed, humans had spread to every continent except Antarctica, adapting to local conditions while maintaining the same basic biological identity. You are the descendant of these survivors, these innovators, these travelers who crossed continents and oceans to inhabit the entire planet, their courage and ingenuity encoded in your genes. As you rest comfortably, warm and safe, appreciate the contrast with the harsh challenges your ancestors faced, their struggles ensuring your comfortable existence, their perseverance giving you the gift of life. The transition from hunting and gathering to agriculture beginning around 10,000 years ago marked a profound shift in human life, though it occurred independently in several regions around the world. Agriculture allowed humans to produce more food per unit of land, supporting larger populations and permanent settlements, though it also brought new challenges including disease, social hierarchy, and intensive labor. The agricultural revolution changed the human diet dramatically, with increased reliance on a few staple crops like wheat, rice, and corn, creating new evolutionary pressures, favoring the ability to digest these foods efficiently. Lactose tolerance, the ability to digest milk sugar into adulthood, evolved in populations that began keeping dairy animals, a genetic adaptation that emerged within the last 10,000 years and is still not universal among modern humans. The shift to agriculture and settled life happened very recently in evolutionary terms, far too recently for major biological adaptations, which means your body is still fundamentally that of a hunter-gatherer adapted for a lifestyle of varied diet, high physical activity, and close social bonds. Many modern health challenges, from obesity to diabetes to anxiety, may reflect the mismatch between our ancient biology and modern environment. Our bodies designed for scarcity in a world of abundance, for high activity in a world of convenience. Understanding this evolutionary perspective can bring compassion for the challenges you face, recognizing that difficulties are not personal failings, but the natural friction between ancient adaptations and modern life. Let this understanding bring you peace, releasing any judgment about yourself, accepting that you are doing your best with a body and brain designed for a world very different from the one you inhabit. Human skin color evolved as an adaptation to varying levels of ultraviolet radiation at different latitudes, with darker skin protecting against UV damage near the equator and lighter skin, maximizing vitamin D production at higher latitudes. The common ancestor of all humans likely had dark skin, and lighter skin tones evolved multiple times independently in populations that migrated to regions with less intense sunlight. Skin color is a relatively superficial trait controlled by a small number of genes and can evolve quite rapidly, changing significantly within tens of thousands of years as populations adapted to new environments. The variation in human skin color represents beautiful evidence of our species' adaptability, our ability to thrive in diverse environments. Though these superficial differences have been wrongly used to justify harmful ideas of racial hierarchy. From an evolutionary perspective, all modern humans are remarkably similar genetically, with greater genetic diversity within continental populations than between them. All of us descended from a small population that lived in Africa within the last few 100,000 years. Race as a biological concept has no scientific validity, as the genetic variations used to define racial categories are continuous rather than discrete, with no clear boundaries separating supposed racial groups. Every human being shares more than 99% of their DNA with every other human being, making us one of the most genetically homogeneous species on Earth. Our recent common origin meaning, we haven't had time to diverge into truly distinct groups. As you relax into sleep, rest in the knowledge that every person you've ever encountered is your relative, your family, connected to you through common ancestors who lived not so long ago in evolutionary terms. The human capacity for culture, for learning and transmitting information non-genetically, has become our primary mode of adaptation, far outpacing biological evolution in speed and flexibility. While genetic evolution requires many generations to produce change, cultural evolution can happen within a single lifetime, allowing humans to adapt to new challenges with unprecedented speed. Your ability to read, to use technology, to follow social norms and wear clothes, to cook food and navigate cities, all of this is cultural rather than genetic, learned rather than instilled, passed down through teaching rather than DNA. This capacity for culture means that human evolution is no longer purely biological but biocultural, with genes and culture interacting in complex feedback loops. The invention of writing only 5,000 years ago dramatically accelerated cultural evolution by allowing information to be stored outside of human memory and transmitted across vast distances and time periods. Modern technology has accelerated this process exponentially, with more information created in the last few years than in all of previous human history. Though your brain remains essentially unchanged from that of humans living tens of thousands of years ago. This is why learning new technologies can feel challenging. Your ancient brain working hard to master tools that didn't exist even a few decades ago, much less during the hundreds of thousands of years that shaped your cognitive architecture. Be gentle with yourself as you learn and adapt, recognizing that you're performing remarkable feats with a brain designed for a much simpler world. Your flexibility and persistence testament to the power of human adaptability. Human beings are fundamentally social creatures, shaped by millions of years of evolution in cooperative groups where survival depended on working together. Your brain dedicates enormous resources to social cognition, to understanding others, recognizing faces, interpreting emotions, and navigating the complex web of human relationships. The ability to cooperate with unrelated individuals, to work together toward common goals, to create societies bound by shared norms and values, sets humans apart from most other species and enabled our remarkable success. Mirror neurons in your brain fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing that action, creating a neural basis for empathy and learning through imitation. Your emotional responses to seeing others in pain or joy reflect deep evolutionary roots, your brain wired to resonate with the experiences of others, creating the foundation for compassion and moral behavior. The loneliness or anxiety you might feel in isolation reflects your evolved need for social connection, your brain treating social disconnection as a threat because, for most of human history, being alone meant vulnerability and danger. In modern life, with its potential for isolation despite being surrounded by millions, understanding this evolutionary need for connection can help you prioritize relationships and community, honoring your fundamental human nature. As you drift towards sleep, think of the countless humans who came before you, sleeping in groups around fires, finding safety and comfort in proximity to others. That same need for connection echoing in your own life. The human hand is a masterpiece of evolution, capable of both power grip for grasping heavy objects and precision grip for manipulating small items with exquisite control. Your opposable thumb, able to rotate and touch each of your other fingers, provides dexterity unmatched in the animal kingdom, allowing you to write, create tools, play instruments, and perform countless skilled tasks. The evolution of the hand was intimately connected with brain evolution, as increased manual dexterity both required and enabled enhanced cognitive abilities, creating a feedback loop driving human intelligence. The same neural circuits that control your hand movements are involved in language, suggesting deep connections between manual manipulation and communication, tool use and thought. When you gesture while speaking, you're expressing this ancient connection between hand and language. Your body unconsciously revealing the evolutionary links between different aspects of human cognition. The sensitivity of human fingertips rivals that of the most sophisticated sensors, able to detect vibrations, temperature, texture, and pressure with remarkable precision, providing rich information about the world. This tactile sensitivity evolved for manipulation, but also serves social functions through touch, which remains a powerful form of human communication and bonding throughout life. As you rest, your hands relaxed and still, appreciate these remarkable appendages that allow you to interact with and shape the world. Millions of years of evolution expressed in their graceful structure. Human bipedalism freed the hands, but created challenges for childbirth, with the pelvis needing to be narrow enough for efficient walking, but wide enough to allow birth of infants with increasingly large heads. This tension has never been fully resolved, making human birth difficult and dangerous compared to other primates. With human infants born at an earlier developmental stage than would be ideal for survival. The helplessness of human infants necessitates intensive parental care and creates extended dependency. But this extended childhood allows for the remarkable learning that characterizes human development. Human babies are born with fewer instincts and more capacity for learning than almost any other animal, their brains plastic and adaptable, ready to be shaped by culture and experience. This extended neuroplasticity allows humans to adapt to any culture, learning whatever language, customs, and skills their society requires, making humans the most culturally flexible species on Earth. Even in adulthood, human brains retain more plasticity than was once believed, capable of forming new neural connections, learning new skills, and adapting to new circumstances throughout life. Your ability to grow and change, to learn from experience and form new habits, reflects this evolved brain plasticity, your nervous system designed for flexibility and adaptation. As you prepare for sleep, know that your brain continues to work while you rest, consolidating memories, processing experiences, and preparing for the learning that tomorrow will bring. The evolution of cooking, which may have begun over 1 million years ago with Homo erectus, transformed human nutrition by making food safer, more digestible, and more nutritious. Cooking breaks down cell walls in plants and denatures proteins in meat, making nutrients more bioavailable and reducing the energy needed for digestion. The adoption of cooking may have enabled the evolution of smaller teeth and jaws and a shorter digestive tract, with the energy saved redirected to feeding our energy-hungry brains. Cooked food is softer and easier to chew, reducing the time needed for eating and allowing our ancestors to spend more time on other activities like tool making, socializing, and caring for young. The social aspects of cooking and sharing meals likely strengthened community bonds, with the hearth becoming a center of human social life. A tradition that continues today when we gather around dinner tables. Every meal you eat connects you to millions of years of hominin evolution, your body designed to thrive on the diverse, cooked foods that your ancestors learned to prepare. The comfort you might feel from a warm meal on a cold day echoes across millennia, the same basic satisfaction that your distant ancestors experienced when they gathered around ancient fires. Let this connection to deep human history bring you peace as you settle into rest, your body nourished by traditions stretching back through countless generations. Human evolution demonstrates that we are not the pinnacle of creation, but rather one branch among many on the tree of life. Remarkable in our own ways but no more evolved than any other surviving species. Every living organism has an evolutionary history as long as yours, stretching back to the origin of life, each adapted to its particular ecological niche through natural selection. The bacteria in your gut have evolved just as much as you have, though in very different directions. Their simple structure belying sophisticated biochemical adaptations that allow them to thrive in the environment of your digestive system. You are not separate from nature but deeply embedded in it, your body home to trillions of bacterial cells that outnumber your human cells. A walking ecosystem shaped by millions of years of coevolution. The microbiome in your gut influences not just digestion, but also immune function, mood, and possibly even behavior, these microscopic partners having evolved alongside humans in intimate partnership. Human evolution continues today, with natural selection still operating, though often in ways different from the past, favoring traits like disease resistance rather than physical strength. In some populations, genetic adaptations to local conditions have emerged within just the last few thousand years, showing that evolution doesn't stop, but constantly responds to changing circumstances. You are not a finished product, but part of an ongoing process, carrying genes that past selection preserved and passing them forward to potential future generations. Evolution has no direction or goal, no plan or purpose, but simply reflects the differential survival and reproduction of organisms in response to their environments. Understanding this can be both humbling and liberating, removing the burden of cosmic purpose while emphasizing your connection to all life. You are not here for any predetermined reason, but you are here nonetheless, a temporary manifestation of ancient patterns, stardust arranged briefly into consciousness before returning to the cosmos. As you drift towards sleep, let go of any need to fully understand these deep mysteries, accepting that some questions may never be fully answered, finding peace in the not knowing. Your consciousness will fade into sleep's darkness, then return with morning's light, this daily cycle of awareness and unawareness, a small echo of the larger mysteries of existence and consciousness. Evolution reveals that change is constant, that nothing stays the same, that life is a process rather than a fixed state, truths that apply to your own life as much as to species over deep time. Just as species evolve in response to changing circumstances, you too grow and change throughout your life, adapting to new situations, learning from experience, becoming someone slightly different with each passing year. The discomfort you might feel in times of change reflects the brain's preference for predictability and stability, safety-seeking strategies that served our ancestors well in dangerous environments. Yet change also brings opportunity for growth, for discovering new capacities, for becoming more fully yourself, evolution operating not just across generations but within individual lifetimes. Your capacity for neuroplasticity, your ability to form new neural connections and learn new ways of being, means that you are never stuck, never unable to change. Though change may require patience and effort. As you grow older, you accumulate not just years but wisdom, experience, perspective, becoming in some ways more authentically yourself, while in other ways constantly transforming. The person you were years ago and the person you will be years from now are connected yet different. Continuity and change intertwined just as in evolution's larger story. Tonight as you sleep, your brain will continue its endless work of maintenance and growth, pruning some connections while strengthening others, your nervous system plastic and responsive even in rest. Tomorrow you will wake slightly different than today, imperceptibly changed, yet still yourself, part of the ongoing process of becoming that defines living systems. Human evolution teaches that we are all connected, all related, all part of one family tree that branches back to common ancestors and ultimately to the origin of life itself. The person sleeping next to you, the stranger on the street, the people in distant countries speaking unknown languages, all are your relatives, your kin, connected to you through shared ancestry. This biological fact supports ethical claims about human equality and dignity, the recognition that all humans share fundamental characteristics and deserve respect and compassion. The differences between people, whether cultural or genetic, are variations on shared themes rather than fundamental divisions, interesting diversity within underlying unity. Understanding human evolution can combat prejudice by revealing that categories like race have no biological validity, that human variation is continuous and clinal rather than falling into discrete types. We are one species, one family, our similarities far outweighing our differences, our shared humanity more fundamental than any divisions. As you drift towards sleep, extend your sense of kinship to all humans, past, present, and future, recognizing that you are part of something larger than yourself, a thread in the vast tapestry of humanity. Your individual life, while precious and unique, is also connected to billions of other lives, each person playing their part in the ongoing human story. The compassion you feel toward others reflects your recognition of this kinship, your understanding at some deep level that their well-being and yours are interconnected. Human flourishing has always depended on cooperation and mutual support, on communities where people care for one another, values rooted deep in our evolutionary heritage. As a social species, we need each other not just practically, but emotionally, our sense of meaning and satisfaction closely tied to our relationships and contributions to others. Tonight as you rest, know that you are held in a web of connection, supported by social structures and relationships even if you are physically alone in this moment. Your life touches others in ways you may not fully realize, your presence making a difference, your existence mattering to the people who know and love you. The evolutionary story is ultimately one of connection, of life diversifying and complexifying, while remaining fundamentally united, separate branches of one tree. You are not an isolated individual, but a node in networks of relationship, dependent on others and depended upon, part of communities and societies, and ultimately the whole human family. This understanding can bring both comfort and responsibility, the security of belonging combined with the obligation to contribute to collective well-being. As you surrender to sleep now, release any sense of isolation or separation, resting instead in your fundamental connection to all life, your place assured in the great web of existence. Your breath slowing, your body relaxing, your mind quieting, you exemplify biological processes billions of years old, patterns that have sustained life since the beginning. Sleep comes as it has to countless humans before you, a daily return to unconsciousness that is natural and necessary, your body's wisdom knowing when to rest and restore. Let go of the day, let go of concerns and plans, let go of the need to understand everything, surrendering to the ancient rhythm of sleep that all living things follow. Your evolution continues even in sleep, your body's cells dividing and dying and being replaced, your immune system fighting microscopic battles, your digestive system processing food into energy and building blocks. You are not a static entity but a dynamic process, more like a river than a rock, constantly flowing and changing while maintaining overall patterns. This moment of rest is part of that process, essential maintenance that allows tomorrow's activity, the balance of activity and rest that characterizes healthy living systems. Trust your body's wisdom accumulated over millions of years of evolution, its knowledge of when to act and when to rest, when to engage and when to release. As consciousness fades, as sleep approaches, know that you are safe, that this transition into unconsciousness is natural and good, a necessary part of being human. Your dreams will take you on journeys through the landscape of your mind, processing experiences, consolidating memories, perhaps solving problems in ways your waking mind cannot. The boundary between waking and sleeping is soft, consciousness dimming gradually, thoughts becoming less directed and more diffuse, the external world fading as internal experience rises. Let yourself drift across this boundary, neither holding on to wakefulness nor forcing sleep, simply allowing the natural transition to unfold in its own time. Your evolutionary heritage supports you in this moment, millions of years of mammalian sleep patterns encoded in your biology, your brain knowing exactly what to do. Nothing you need to accomplish, nowhere you need to go, just this moment of release and rest, honoring your body's needs and your brain's cycles. The story of human evolution is ultimately a love story, the love of parents for children motivating care and sacrifice, the bonds between partners creating families, the connections within communities, enabling cooperation and mutual support. Love in all its forms, from romantic passion to familial devotion to compassion for strangers, has shaped human evolution and been shaped by it, emerging from and transcending our biological nature. The capacity to love and be loved is part of your evolutionary inheritance, as human as your upright posture or your capacity for language. Tonight, as you rest, surrounded by evolution's gifts, held by processes billions of years old, feel yourself loved by life itself, your existence cherished by the universe that made you. You are evolution's beloved child, the cosmos knowing itself through your consciousness, matter waking up to contemplate its own nature. Sleep now in peace, you beautiful expression of ancient patterns, you temporary manifestation of eternal processes, you human being with your magnificent evolutionary heritage. Rest well, knowing your place in the grand story, connected to all that was and all that will be, significant yet humble, unique yet united with all life. Close your eyes and drift into sleep's embrace, letting go of everything, surrendering to rest, trusting in the ancient wisdom of your body and brain. You are loved, you are connected, you belong to life itself, and now it is time to sleep, to rest, to dream, to allow your body its essential restoration. Good night, dear human, product of billions of years of evolution, miracle of consciousness, stardust that wonders at stars. Sleep now deeply and peacefully, held by the universe that created you, part of the great unfolding story of life on Earth. Rest now, sleep well, sleep deeply, peacefully. The human brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each one a tiny processing unit capable of forming thousands of connections with other neurons, creating a network of staggering complexity. These neurons communicate through electrical impulses and chemical messengers called neurotransmitters, creating the patterns of activity that give rise to every thought, feeling, and sensation you experience. The fact that your subjective experience emerges from these physical processes is one of the deepest mysteries in science. The hard problem of consciousness that philosophers and neuroscientists continue to explore. Yet even without fully understanding consciousness, we can appreciate the brain's remarkable capabilities, shaped by millions of years of natural selection, to create an organ of unprecedented sophistication. Your brain is constantly changing, forming new connections and pruning old ones in response to your experiences, a process called neuroplasticity that continues throughout your life. When you learn something new, whether a fact or a skill, you're literally reshaping your brain, strengthening some neural pathways while allowing others to weaken. Your nervous system molding itself to your experiences. This capacity for change is both your inheritance from millions of years of evolution and your opportunity for growth and transformation throughout your life. As you lie here relaxing, your brain is quietly working in the background, maintaining your breathing and heartbeat, monitoring your body's systems, processing sensations from your skin and muscles. Most of this activity happens below the threshold of consciousness, your brain managing countless functions automatically, freeing your conscious mind to focus on other things. The autonomic nervous system, which controls these automatic functions, evolved hundreds of millions of years ago in our distant vertebrate ancestors. So ancient and reliable that you never need to think about making your heart beat or telling your lungs to breathe. Trust in this ancient wisdom as you drift towards sleep, your body knowing exactly what to do, systems refined over eons of evolution operating perfectly to keep you alive and well. The evolution of human emotions represents adaptations to social living, with feelings like love, anger, fear, and joy serving important functions in navigating relationships and responding to challenges. Fear evolved to help our ancestors avoid danger, triggering the fight-or-flight response that prepares the body for action when threats are perceived. Anger can motivate you to defend yourself or address injustice, though in modern contexts it may arise in situations where physical aggression is inappropriate, requiring conscious regulation. Joy and pleasure reward behaviors that promoted survival and reproduction in our ancestral environment. From eating nutritious food, to forming social bonds, to succeeding in challenges. Love in its many forms, from parental attachment to romantic passion to friendship, creates the bonds that hold human societies together and motivate care and cooperation. Even negative emotions like sadness and anxiety serve functions, with sadness potentially eliciting support from others and anxiety motivating preparation for potential challenges. Understanding emotions from an evolutionary perspective doesn't diminish their importance or reduce them to mere biology, but rather helps you appreciate their adaptive functions and respond to them with compassion. Your emotions are not weaknesses or irrationalities, but rather information, signals from ancient systems designed to help you navigate life's challenges. Though the modern world sometimes triggers these responses in contexts quite different from those in which they evolved. As you relax and prepare for sleep, you might notice various emotions arising, perhaps contentment or peace, perhaps worries about tomorrow, perhaps a mixture of feelings. All of them normal and human, all of them part of your evolutionary inheritance. Let these emotions come and go like waves on a shore, neither clinging to pleasant feelings nor pushing away uncomfortable ones. Simply observing with gentle awareness as your mind gradually quiets and sleep approaches. The human immune system is a masterpiece of evolution, a complex network of cells, tissues, and molecules that defend your body against pathogens, while distinguishing dangerous invaders from harmless substances and your own cells. This system evolved over hundreds of millions of years, with each layer representing a different stage in vertebrate evolution. from simple physical barriers like skin to sophisticated adaptive immunity that can remember specific pathogens and mount stronger responses upon re-exposure. Your immune system is constantly active, fighting off countless potential infections without your awareness, only becoming noticeable when it triggers inflammation or you feel the fatigue that accompanies illness. The fever you experience when sick is not the infection itself, but your immune system's response, raising body temperature to create conditions less favorable for pathogen reproduction, while enhancing immune cell function. Allergies represent immune system mistakes, responses to harmless substances like pollen or certain foods, demonstrating that evolution doesn't produce perfection, but rather systems that work well enough in the environments where they evolved. Autoimmune diseases, where the immune system attacks the body's own tissues, show another way this complex system can malfunction, though for most people most of the time, the immune system works remarkably well. The hygiene hypothesis suggests that some modern immune problems may result from reduced exposure to microbes in childhood, with the immune system evolved to be calibrated by early contact with various organisms now missing from sanitized modern environments. As you rest tonight, your immune system continues its tireless work, patrolling your body, eliminating abnormal cells, fighting off microbes, maintaining the delicate balance that keeps you healthy. Give thanks for this invisible guardian, this product of millions of years of evolutionary refinement, working constantly to protect you while you sleep and wake. Human sexuality and reproduction, like all aspects of our biology, evolved to maximize the transmission of genes to future generations, though human sexuality has also become entwined with pleasure, bonding, and complex social and cultural meanings. Sexual reproduction, which evolved billions of years ago, offers the advantage of genetic recombination, mixing genes from two parents to create offspring with new genetic combinations that may be better adapted to changing environments. The evolution of sex differences in humans reflects different reproductive challenges faced by males and females, with females investing more heavily in each offspring through pregnancy and nursing, while males can potentially reproduce with less investment per offspring. These biological differences have influenced the evolution of sex-specific behaviors and preferences, though the expression of these tendencies is heavily shaped by culture and individual variation is enormous. Human beings show evidence of both pair bonding and more promiscuous mating strategies in our evolutionary history, with different individuals and cultures emphasizing different aspects of this range. The concealed ovulation characteristic of human females, meaning women don't show obvious signs of fertility, unlike many other primates, may have evolved to promote pair bonding by keeping males uncertain about paternity and thus more invested in partnership. Human sexuality is unusual among primates in being relatively dissociated from reproduction, with sexual activity occurring throughout the menstrual cycle and continuing long past reproductive age, suggesting functions beyond just conception. The pleasure associated with sex encourages the behavior, but sex also serves social bonding functions, reducing tension, promoting intimacy, and strengthening partnerships. As you drift towards sleep, know that your existence results from an unbroken chain of successful reproduction, stretching back billions of years. Every one of your ancestors managing to survive and reproduce your digestive system, your gut microbiome, help break down foods that you couldn't digest on your own, particularly complex carbohydrates and fiber, earning their living space by making nutrients available to you. This symbiotic relationship between humans and gut bacteria evolved over millions of years, with the microbiome composition adapting to dietary patterns and influencing health in ways scientists are only beginning to understand. Different human populations have evolved digestive adaptations to their traditional diets, like the ability to digest milk in adulthood among populations with long histories of dairy farming, or adaptations to starch-heavy diets in agricultural populations. Your gut contains neurons, so many that it's sometimes called the second brain, and this enteric nervous system communicates with your brain through the vagus nerve, linking digestive processes to mood and mental state. The gut feelings you experience may reflect this ancient connection between digestive system and brain, information flowing both ways to coordinate responses to food and stress. Tonight, as you rest, your digestive system continues its work, breaking down your last meal, absorbing nutrients, eliminating waste, rhythms of digestion that continue around the clock. The satisfaction of eating, the comfort of a full stomach, these feelings evolve to reward the consumption of necessary nutrients. Simple pleasures that connect you to every animal that ever needed to find food to survive. Human language is unique in the natural world, with no other species possessing a communication system of comparable complexity, flexibility, and expressive power. While many animals communicate, using calls, gestures, scents, and displays to convey information about threats, food, or reproductive status, human language can express unlimited ideas including abstract concepts, hypothetical scenarios, and events distant in time and space. The productivity of language, the ability to create and understand an infinite number of novel sentences from a finite set of words and grammatical rules, sets human communication apart from other animal systems. Children acquire language with remarkable ease, learning thousands of words and complex grammatical rules without explicit instruction, suggesting an innate language capacity shaped by evolution. The critical period for language acquisition in early childhood shows that brain development and language learning are intimately connected, with neural circuits being organized around the language input received during this sensitive period. Adults can still learn new languages, demonstrating continued brain plasticity, though typically with more effort and less native-like pronunciation than childhood learners. The diversity of human languages, with thousands of distinct languages spoken around the world, shows how cultural evolution can produce variation within the framework of universal human language capacity. All human languages share certain structural features, supporting the idea of a universal grammar underlying human linguistic ability, even as the specific sounds, words, and structures vary enormously. Language transformed human life by enabling the accumulation and transmission of cultural knowledge, allowing each generation to build on the discoveries and innovations of those who came before. Without language, the complex societies, technologies, and cultural achievements that characterize human life would be impossible, each individual limited to what they could discover in their own lifetime. As you rest now, language recedes, the constant internal monologue that characterizes waking consciousness gradually quieting as sleep approaches. In sleep, language doesn't entirely disappear but transforms, appearing in dreams as disjointed fragments, strange conversations, or narratives that make sense in the dream but seem bizarre upon waking. This relaxation of linguistic constraints in dreams may allow for creative combinations and insights not available to the more rigid logical thinking of waking consciousness. Let language fade now, releasing the need to think in words, allowing your mind to rest in the pre-verbal experience of sensations, images, and feelings. Human upright posture and bipedal locomotion created the distinctive S-curve of the human spine, with its curves in the neck, upper back, and lower back helping to balance the head above the pelvis. This spinal configuration allows efficient upright walking, but also creates vulnerability to back pain, as the lower back bears significant stress, and the spinal discs can herniate or degenerate with age or injury. The human foot evolved into a remarkable structure capable of both stable standing and dynamic walking and running, with arches that act as springs to absorb shock and return energy with each step. Your big toe, unlike those of other apes, aligns with the other toes rather than opposing them, providing a platform for push-off when walking and running. The Achilles tendon, connecting calf muscles to the heel bone, is particularly well developed in humans and acts as an elastic energy store, making human walking, and especially running, remarkably efficient. Humans are exceptional endurance runners among primates, capable of running long distances in hot weather, an ability that may have allowed our ancestors to persistence hunt, pursuing prey until it overheated and collapsed from exhaustion. This running ability required numerous adaptations, including the ability to regulate body temperature through sweating, long legs for efficient striding, and skeletal and muscular features for stability while running. Humans are relatively slow sprinters compared to most predators and prey animals, but our endurance capabilities are extraordinary, allowing us to cover great distances on foot. Your ability to walk and run on two legs, something you likely take for granted, represents millions of years of evolutionary refinement, countless modifications to skeleton, muscles, and nervous system. As you lie still now, preparing for sleep, your feet and legs rest from the work of carrying you through the day, these remarkable structures that allow you to navigate your world. The human ability to sweat over most of the body surface is unusual among mammals and evolved as a cooling mechanism that allows sustained activity in hot conditions. While many mammals pant to cool down, humans can sweat copiously, evaporating water from skin to dissipate heat, enabling exertion even in high temperatures. This cooling system requires access to water to replace what's lost through sweating, but it provides a significant advantage in hot climates and during sustained physical activity. The loss of body hair in human evolution, leaving us relatively naked compared to other apes, may have evolved in tandem with increased sweating as part of an enhanced cooling system. Human skin color, as mentioned earlier, evolved primarily in response to ultraviolet radiation levels, but skin also houses numerous sensory receptors providing information about touch, pressure, temperature, and pain. Your skin is a major sensory organ, constantly feeding information to your brain about the environment and your body's contact with it. From the texture of fabric against your skin, to the temperature of the air, to the pressure of the surface supporting your body. Touch is essential for human development, with babies needing physical contact for healthy growth, and it remains important throughout life for emotional connection and well-being. The comforting feeling of a hug, the reassuring touch of a hand, the pleasure of physical affection, all reflect the deep importance of tactile connection in social primates like humans. As you rest now, notice the feeling of your body against the surface supporting you, the touch of blankets or sheets, the sensations of your skin. All information gathered by millions of sensory receptors and processed by your attentive brain. Let these sensations anchor you in the present moment, in the reality of your embodied existence, as you gradually release into sleep. Human beings have evolved to be visual creatures, with the sense of sight dominating sensory experience for most people. A legacy of our primate heritage living in the trees where good vision was essential. The forward-facing eyes that characterize primates create overlapping visual fields, allowing for binocular vision and depth perception, crucial for judging distances when jumping between branches. Color vision in primates evolved to detect ripe fruits and nutritious young leaves, turning the forest canopy into a rich visual tapestry where food sources could be easily identified. Your visual system is incredibly sophisticated, with the eye capturing light patterns and the brain interpreting them, constructing the visual experience you perceive as seeing the world. The blind spot in each eye, where the optic nerve exits the retina, demonstrates that vision is a construction rather than a direct perception. As your brain fills in the missing information so seamlessly that you're never aware of the gap. Visual illusions reveal other ways your brain constructs visual experience, making assumptions based on past experience to interpret ambiguous sensory data, sometimes leading to misperceptions. The vast majority of your brain's visual processing happens unconsciously, with only the final constructed experience reaching awareness. An enormous computational effort that happens so effortlessly you never notice it. In dim light, your eyes shift from cone cells that provide color vision to rod cells that are more sensitive to light, but only detect shades of gray. A shift that takes about 20 minutes to fully complete as your eyes adapt to darkness. As you prepare for sleep in a darkened room, your visual system gradually quiets, with less and less light to process, giving your visual cortex a rest from its constant work of creating your visual experience of the world. Even with eyes closed, you may notice phosphenes, the random patterns of light and color that appear in the absence of external visual input. As your visual system continues to generate activity even in darkness. In dreams, your visual cortex will reactivate, creating vivid visual experiences without any light entering your eyes, demonstrating that vision is as much about brain activity as about light hitting the retina. Let your eyes fully close now, releasing visual attention, allowing this dominant sense to rest, giving your visual brain permission to quiet as sleep approaches. Human hearing evolved to detect a range of sound frequencies relevant to survival, from the low rumble of approaching threats to the high-pitched cries of infants, with particular sensitivity to frequencies found in human speech. The human ear is a mechanical marvel, with sound waves causing the eardrum to vibrate. These vibrations transmitted through 3 tiny bones to the fluid-filled cochlea, where hair cells convert mechanical motion into electrical signals the brain can interpret. Different frequencies cause different parts of the cochlea to vibrate, allowing your brain to distinguish between high and low pitches, a mechanical frequency analysis happening in your inner ear. The auditory system can detect incredibly subtle differences in timing and intensity between the 2 ears, using this information to localize sounds in space, determining where sounds are coming from with remarkable accuracy. Your brain's auditory cortex processes sounds in complex ways, not just detecting frequencies but recognizing patterns, extracting meaning from speech, identifying familiar voices, and responding emotionally to music. Music is a human universal, found in every culture, though its evolutionary origin remains debated, possibly emerging as a byproduct of language or perhaps serving social bonding functions. The emotional power of music, its ability to move you to tears or fill you with joy, speaks to deep connections between auditory processing and emotional centers in the brain. Lullabies are also universal across human cultures, soft, repetitive songs used to soothe infants to sleep, suggesting that the connection between certain sounds and relaxation is deeply rooted in human nature. As you rest now, perhaps notice any sounds in your environment, the hum of appliances, the distant sound of traffic, the settling of the building, or perhaps notice silence. The absence of sound, equally worthy of attention. Let sounds come and go without holding on to them, your auditory attention gradually softening, hearing becoming less focused and more diffuse as sleep approaches. Human olfaction, the sense of smell, is often considered weak compared to many animals, Yet humans can detect thousands of different odors, and olfaction remains important for survival, pleasure, and social bonding. Smell is the most ancient sense, with olfactory systems appearing early in animal evolution, and in mammals. Olfaction remains intimately connected to emotion and memory through neural pathways linking the olfactory bulb to limbic structures. The powerful connection between smells and memories, where a particular scent can instantly transport you to a moment from your past, reflects these ancient neural connections between olfaction and memory systems. Many human social and emotional responses are influenced by olfaction, though often unconsciously, from the attraction to potential partners to the bonding between mother and infant. Humans can detect pheromones, chemical signals that influence behavior and physiology, though the role of pheromones in human behavior is less clear than in many other mammals. The taste of food is actually a combination of taste, smell, and texture, with much of what we think of as taste actually being olfactory information, which is why food tastes bland when you have a stuffy nose. The 5 basic tastes detected by taste buds on your tongue are sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami, each providing information about nutrients or potential toxins in food. Sweet taste evolved to attract us to ripe fruits and other calorie-rich foods, while bitter taste warns of potential poisons, with humans having particular sensitivity to bitter compounds that may be toxic. Salt taste helps maintain appropriate sodium levels essential for nerve and muscle function, while sour taste detects acidity, and umami taste responds to amino acids found in protein-rich foods. Your preferences for different tastes and smells are influenced both by genetics and experience, with cultural learning shaping which flavors you find pleasant or disgusting. As you relax towards sleep, you might notice any smells in your environment, perhaps the scent of your bedding, or perhaps notice the absence of strong odors in the neutral air. Your olfactory system quiet and at rest. The human cardiovascular system, consisting of your heart, blood vessels, and blood, evolved to deliver oxygen and nutrients to every cell in your body while removing waste products. Your heart, a muscular pump about the size of your fist, beats approximately 100,000 times per day, pumping blood through about 60,000 miles of blood vessels. A circulatory system that reaches every part of your body. The 4-chambered heart, characteristic of mammals and birds, evolved to completely separate oxygen-rich blood, returning from the lungs from oxygen-poor blood returning from the body, allowing for more efficient oxygen delivery. Your heartbeat is controlled by the heart's own pacemaker cells, which generate electrical impulses that coordinate contraction. Though this rhythm is modulated by nervous system input in response to activity and stress levels. Blood pressure, the force of blood against vessel walls, must be carefully regulated to ensure adequate perfusion of organs while avoiding damage to delicate blood vessels. The evolution of upright posture created challenges for circulation, as blood must be pumped against gravity to reach the brain, requiring adaptations including valves in leg veins to prevent backflow and muscular compression of veins to assist return of blood to the heart. Your blood itself is a remarkable tissue, with red blood cells carrying oxygen, white blood cells fighting infection, and platelets enabling clotting to prevent blood loss from injuries. Hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that binds oxygen, is structurally similar across many species, demonstrating common ancestry. Though subtle differences in hemoglobin structure represent adaptations to different environments. As you lie still, preparing for sleep, your heart rate naturally slows, your blood pressure drops, your body entering the relaxed state characteristic of rest. Notice your heartbeat if you can, that steady rhythm that has continued since before your birth and will continue throughout your life, the physical pulse of your existence. Let your breathing slow and deepen, knowing that with each breath you're delivering oxygen to your blood, supporting the metabolism of every cell in your body, participating in processes billions of years old. Human breathing typically happens automatically, controlled by the brainstem, which monitors carbon dioxide levels in the blood and adjusts breathing rate accordingly, though you can also consciously control your breathing when you choose to. The diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle separating chest from abdomen, does most of the work of breathing, contracting and flattening to draw air into the lungs, then relaxing to allow air to be expelled. Your lungs contain millions of tiny air sacs called alveoli, providing an enormous surface area for gas exchange, allowing oxygen to diffuse into blood while carbon dioxide diffuses out. The respiratory system evolved in stages, with gills in aquatic ancestors giving way to lungs in the first land vertebrates. Structures originally evolved for supplementing oxygen intake in low-oxygen water later, adapted for breathing air. Your ability to speak depends on precise control of breathing, with speech requiring controlled exhalation, coordinated with vocal cord vibration and articulation by tongue and lips. Singers and wind instrument players train to develop even greater breath control, extending natural capabilities through practice, demonstrating the plasticity of even automatic systems like breathing. Deep, slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting relaxation and counteracting stress responses. A simple technique for calming yourself that takes advantage of ancient connections between breathing and arousal states. As you rest now, allow your breathing to find its own natural rhythm, not forcing or controlling, just observing the gentle flow of air in and out, the rise and fall of your chest, the subtle expansion and contraction of your body with each breath. This breath connects you to all breathing creatures, to the atmosphere itself, to the oxygen-producing plants that made animal life possible, to the great cycles of life that sustain the biosphere. You are not separate from nature but deeply embedded in it, your every breath an exchange with the living world, giving and receiving, part of the continuous flow that characterizes all life. Let your breath carry away tension and worry, each exhalation releasing what you don't need, each inhalation bringing calm and peace. Your body knowing exactly how to breathe to support rest and restoration. Sleep is approaching now, your body preparing for the daily renewal that sleep provides, systems shifting into the patterns characteristic of rest. Consciousness beginning to fade as your brain transitions towards sleep. Nothing to do now but surrender, to allow sleep to come in its own time, trusting in processes refined over millions of years of mammalian evolution, your body's wisdom knowing exactly what you need. Rest deeply, knowing you are held by the universe that created you, part of the vast web of life that stretches across this planet and back through billions of years, unique yet connected, temporary yet part of something eternal, mortal yet participating in the ongoing flow of life through time. Sleep well, dear human, dream peacefully, rest completely, allowing your body and mind the restoration they need. Gift yourself this necessary rest. This nightly return to unconsciousness that makes consciousness possible, this little death that renews life, this surrender that brings strength, this darkness that prepares for light. Sleep now. Rest now, dream peacefully, good night. The evolution of human consciousness remains one of the greatest mysteries in science. The question of how subjective experience arises from physical brain processes, still without a complete answer. Consciousness may have emerged gradually through evolution, with simpler forms of awareness in early animals giving way to more complex experiences as nervous systems became more sophisticated. Your capacity for self-awareness, your ability to reflect on your own thoughts and experiences, may be relatively recent in evolutionary terms, perhaps emerging with language and symbolic thinking. Other animals are conscious in the sense of having subjective experiences, with mammals and birds likely experiencing emotions, sensations, and perhaps simple forms of thought, though their conscious experiences may differ significantly from human consciousness. The question of whether consciousness serves an adaptive function or is a byproduct of complex information processing remains debated, with some arguing that consciousness itself provides advantages, while others suggest it's an inevitable consequence of sufficiently complex brains. Whatever its origins, consciousness is the most intimate aspect of your existence, the felt sense of being you, the awareness that experiences the world and your own mental life. As consciousness fades in sleep, you might wonder where you go, whether consciousness is binary or exists on a continuum. What it means that you can exist without awareness for hours each night, then return each morning. These deep questions have no easy answers, but they point to the profound mystery at the heart of existence, the miracle that the universe has produced beings capable of wondering about themselves. Let these questions rest now as you rest, accepting that some mysteries may remain mysterious, finding peace in not knowing, allowing consciousness to fade without fear or resistance. The evolution of cooperation and altruism in humans has produced a species capable of remarkable acts of kindness, sacrifice, and mutual aid, behaviors that seem to contradict simple notions of selfish genes. Kin selection explains much apparent altruism, as helping genetic relatives can spread genes even if the helper doesn't reproduce directly, making sacrifices for family genetically beneficial. Reciprocal altruism, where individuals help each other with the expectation of future return, can evolve even among non-relatives when interactions are repeated, and cheating can be detected and punished. Reputation and indirect reciprocity extend cooperation further, with individuals helping others to build good reputations that will encourage others to help them in future. Group selection, though controversial, may also play a role in human cooperation, with groups of cooperators outcompeting groups of defectors, even when cooperation is costly for individuals. Human morality, with its emphasis on fairness, justice, and compassion, likely evolved to support cooperation in social groups, with moral emotions like guilt, shame, gratitude, and indignation serving to regulate behavior. The human capacity for empathy, for feeling what others feel and being motivated to help relieve their suffering, creates the emotional foundation for moral behavior and pro-social action. Cultural evolution has extended moral concern beyond kin and tribe to embrace larger communities and even all of humanity, with moral progress expanding the circle of moral consideration. Your own capacity for kindness, for caring about others and acting to help them, reflects millions of years of evolution in social groups where cooperation was essential for survival. As you rest tonight, you can appreciate the web of cooperation that supports your existence. From family and friends to the countless strangers whose work provides the goods and services you depend on. Human society functions because most people most of the time cooperate, follow norms, fulfill obligations, and treat others with basic decency. A remarkable achievement given the potential for conflict and exploitation. Let yourself feel gratitude for the cooperation that makes civilized life possible, for the people who care for you and those you care for the basic human capacity for working together toward shared goals. The human capacity for culture, our ability to create and transmit information non-genetically across generations, has produced the astonishing diversity of human societies around the world. Every human is born with the capacity for any culture, able to learn any language, follow any customs, adopt any worldview, demonstrating the fundamental unity of our species beneath cultural diversity. Culture evolves through mechanisms similar but not identical to biological evolution, with ideas, practices, and artifacts varying, being selected based on their usefulness or appeal, and being transmitted to others. Cultural evolution happens much faster than biological evolution, allowing human societies to adapt to new challenges within generations, rather than requiring thousands or millions of years. The accumulation of cultural knowledge across generations has produced the scientific understanding, technological capabilities, and social institutions that characterize modern life. Accumulative cultural evolution, impossible for species without language and teaching. Your own knowledge and skills are primarily cultural rather than genetic, learned from others rather than instilled by DNA, making you the beneficiary of countless innovations and discoveries stretching back through human history. The written language you're processing right now represents a cultural achievement from only about 5,000 years ago, transforming human civilization by allowing knowledge to be stored outside human memory and transmitted across vast distances and time. Modern digital technology represents the latest stage in cultural evolution, with information now created, stored, and transmitted at scales and speeds that would have been unimaginable to humans just generations ago. As you prepare for sleep in a world shaped by millions of cultural innovations, appreciate how much of your life is made possible by knowledge and technology passed down and improved across generations. Even the bed you lie on, the roof over your head, the climate control keeping you comfortable, all represent cultural accomplishments. The accumulated wisdom of countless humans working to solve the challenges of existence. Culture is both a blessing and a burden, providing tools and knowledge while also imposing norms and expectations, enabling cooperation while sometimes constraining individual freedom. Your relationship to culture is complex, shaped by it while also shaping it through your own choices and contributions, embedded in cultural contexts while also maintaining individual agency. As you drift toward sleep, you can release some of the weight of cultural expectations, giving yourself permission to simply be without judgment or comparison, resting in your basic humanity beneath all cultural conditioning. Sleep is a time of return to more basic existence, when social roles and cultural identities can temporarily fade, when you exist simply as a living, breathing human animal, part of nature, subject to biological rhythms that preceded culture by billions of years. The human life cycle, from birth through childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and old age, reflects evolved developmental patterns shaped by natural selection over millions of years. Human infants are born helpless and remain dependent longer than any other primate, requiring years of intensive care before they can survive independently. An extended childhood that allows for the remarkable learning that characterizes human development. Childhood play, universal across human cultures, serves important developmental functions, allowing children to practice skills, explore their environment, and learn social rules in low-stakes contexts. Adolescence, marked by puberty and the transition to reproductive maturity, is a time of rapid physical, emotional, and social change, preparing young people for adult roles and responsibilities. The brain undergoes significant reorganization during adolescence, with increased connectivity between regions supporting more sophisticated reasoning and self-regulation, though full maturation doesn't occur until the mid-20s. Human adulthood is characterized by peak physical capabilities, combined with accumulated knowledge and experience. The stage when most reproduction occurs, and when individuals make their greatest contributions to their communities. The extended human lifespan, with many people living decades beyond reproductive age, is unusual among mammals and may reflect the value of grandparents in helping to raise grandchildren and transmitting knowledge across generations. Menopause in human females, the cessation of reproduction well before death, may have evolved to allow older women to invest in existing grandchildren, rather than continuing to have children who would compete with grandchildren for resources. Aging is universal among complex organisms, reflecting the accumulation of damage and the declining effectiveness of repair mechanisms, though the specific rate and pattern of aging varies across species. Human aging brings physical decline, but also often increased wisdom, perspective, and emotional regulation, trade-offs that reflect different priorities across the lifespan. As you rest tonight, wherever you are in your own life cycle, know that your current stage is part of a natural progression, each phase bringing its own challenges and gifts. The full arc of a human life unfolding across decades. Death, the end of individual existence, is as much a part of life as birth, an inevitable consequence of being a finite biological organism in a changing world. From an evolutionary perspective, death serves important functions, removing individuals after their reproductive years and making room for new generations with potentially better adapted gene combinations. The fact that all your ancestors successfully reproduced before dying means that death typically comes after the opportunity to pass genes forward. Evolution caring more about reproduction than individual longevity. Human awareness of mortality, unique among animals or at least uniquely acute in humans, creates existential challenges but also motivates much human behavior and cultural innovation. The universal human confrontation with mortality has produced religions, philosophies, art, and literature grappling with the meaning of finite existence. Attempts to find significance and purpose despite inevitable death. Some find comfort in ideas of an afterlife, continuity of consciousness, or soul beyond bodily death, beliefs found in most human cultures throughout history. Others find meaning in legacy, in contributions that outlive the individual, in children and grandchildren, in creative works or impacts on the world that persist after death. Still others find peace in accepting mortality as natural, embracing the preciousness of finite existence, living fully in the present without needing permanence or certainty about what comes after. As you prepare for sleep, that nightly rehearsal for death, that temporary loss of consciousness from which you will wake, you can practice accepting the unknown, surrendering to processes beyond your control, trusting in the natural rhythms of life and death. Sleep and death are not the same, of course, but sleep offers a safe context for experiencing loss of control and consciousness, for practicing the letting go that death will ultimately require. Let yourself surrender completely to sleep, releasing all grasping and fear, accepting the temporary disappearance of consciousness, trusting that you will wake renewed and restored. The origin of life itself, occurring roughly 3.5 to 4 billion years ago, set in motion the evolutionary process that would eventually produce you, though the exact mechanisms remain uncertain. The first living organisms were likely simple, single-celled creatures capable of reproduction and metabolism, probably arising from complex chemistry in favorable environments like deep-sea hydrothermal vents or shallow pools rich in organic molecules. These earliest life forms were far simpler than any modern cell, perhaps more like self-replicating molecules than true cells, but they possessed the key capability of making copies of themselves, allowing natural selection to begin shaping their descendants. For billions of years, life remained microscopic and unicellular, with bacteria and archaea dominating Earth. Though these simple organisms were actually remarkably sophisticated in their biochemistry and capabilities. The evolution of photosynthesis, the ability to capture energy from sunlight and use it to build organic molecules from carbon dioxide, transformed Earth's atmosphere by producing oxygen as a waste product, eventually making complex life possible. The endosymbiotic origin of eukaryotic cells, where one cell engulfed another, and the engulfed cell became an organelle, created cells with nuclei and mitochondria. The cellular architecture that would enable complex multicellular life. Multicellular organisms evolved multiple times independently, with different lineages developing different solutions to the challenges of coordinating multiple cells into coherent organisms. The Cambrian explosion around 500 million years ago saw the rapid diversification of animal body plans, with most modern animal groups appearing in the fossil record within a relatively short period. Vertebrates, animals with backbones, emerged during this period, eventually giving rise to fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals, the lineage that would eventually produce humans. Your body plan, with bilateral symmetry, a head containing concentrated sensory organs and brain, a backbone protecting a spinal cord, and paired appendages, was established hundreds of millions of years ago and is shared with countless other vertebrates. The four limbs characteristic of tetrapods evolved from fish fins around 370 million years ago, when some fish species began venturing onto land. A momentous transition that would eventually enable the evolution of all land vertebrates, including humans. These early tetrapods faced numerous challenges on land, including supporting body weight against gravity, breathing air instead of water, and preventing desiccation, requiring multiple adaptations across anatomy and physiology. The evolution of the amniotic egg, with its protective shell and internal fluid-filled sac surrounding the embryo, freed vertebrates from needing to return to water to reproduce, enabling full terrestrial life. Mammals evolved from reptilian ancestors around 200 million years ago, during the age of dinosaurs, remaining mostly small and nocturnal while dinosaurs dominated daytime niches. The extinction of non-avian dinosaurs 66 million years ago, likely caused by an asteroid impact, created opportunities for mammals to diversify and occupy many ecological roles previously filled by dinosaurs. Primates, the mammalian order including lemurs, monkeys, apes, and humans, evolved around 60 to 80 million years ago, developing characteristics like grasping hands, forward-facing eyes, and large brains relative to body size. Your lineage thus stretches back through billions of years and countless ancestors, each generation surviving and reproducing, each contributing to the evolutionary path that led to you. As you rest now, contemplate this deep history, your connection to all life on Earth through common ancestry, your body assembled from elements forged in stars, your consciousness, a recent development in the vast sweep of cosmic and biological evolution. You are the universe becoming aware of itself, matter organized in such complex ways that it can reflect on its own existence. A temporary edification of atoms that will eventually disperse back into the cosmos. This perspective can be both humbling and elevating, revealing your smallness in cosmic terms while celebrating the improbable beauty of your conscious existence. Let yourself rest in this knowledge, held by the same physical laws and biological processes that have sustained life for billions of years, part of something vastly larger than yourself, connected to everything that is and was and will be. The evolution of music and dance, found in all human cultures, suggests these capacities served important functions, though their evolutionary origins remain debated. Music may have evolved as an extension of language, utilizing similar neural systems while adding emotional and aesthetic dimensions absent from purely semantic communication. Alternatively, Music might have evolved for social bonding, with groups singing and dancing creating shared experiences that strengthen community cohesion and cooperation. The emotional power of music, its ability to induce joy, sadness, excitement, or calm, demonstrates deep connections between auditory processing and emotional systems in the brain. Music can synchronize physiological states across individuals, with shared listening or group performance aligning heartbeats and breathing, creating a physical basis for social connection. Lullabies, songs used to soothe infants across all cultures, demonstrate music's power to regulate emotional states, with slow tempos and gentle melodies promoting relaxation and sleep. The music you might use to help yourself sleep tonight connects you to this universal human practice, using sound to influence consciousness and facilitate the transition to sleep. Dance, coordinated movement often performed to music, also appears universal across human cultures and may have evolved for courtship, social bonding, or collective ritual purposes. The pleasure of moving to music, the satisfaction of coordinated group dance. These experiences reflect deep evolutionary roots, connections between auditory, motor, and reward systems in the brain. As you lie still now, perhaps you can imagine gentle music, a slow rhythm matching your slowing heartbeat, a simple melody repeating like a mantra, sounds that support rather than stimulate, that calm rather than energize. Let imaginary or remembered music accompany you toward sleep, rhythms and melodies that soothe and settle, bringing peace and calm, facilitating the natural transition from waking to sleeping. Human storytelling, the creation and sharing of narratives, may have evolved as a way to transmit knowledge about social relationships, potential dangers, successful strategies, and cultural values. Stories allow people to learn from others' experiences without personally facing the risks, to explore hypothetical scenarios and their consequences, to rehearse social and practical challenges in imagination. The universal human love of stories, from ancient myths to modern novels and films, demonstrates the deep appeal of narrative structure, the satisfaction of seeing events unfold toward resolution. Your own life can be understood as a story, with yourself as the protagonist navigating challenges, forming relationships, pursuing goals, growing and changing across time. The stories you tell yourself about your life, about who you are and what matters, shape your identity and guide your choices, demonstrating narrative's power to organize experience and create meaning. As you drift toward sleep, your mind may review the day's events, creating a narrative from the jumbled experiences, finding patterns and meaning, a natural process of consolidation and integration. Dreams often take the form of stories, bizarre and disjointed perhaps, but still structured as narratives with characters, events, and emotional arcs. Your sleeping brain continuing to create meaning through narrative form. Let the day's story come to a close now, releasing the need to analyze or understand, allowing experiences to settle. Trusting that your sleeping brain will process and integrate what needs processing, releasing what doesn't need to be kept. Tomorrow will bring a new chapter, new experiences to weave into your ongoing life narrative. But for now, this day is complete, its story finished, ready to be filed away in memory. The human relationship with other animals has shaped our evolution and continues to influence our lives. From the dogs and cats many keep as companions to the livestock that provide food to the wild animals that capture our imagination. Humans domesticated dogs from wolves at least 15,000 years ago, creating the first domesticated animal and beginning a relationship of mutual benefit that continues today. Dogs evolved to read human facial expressions and gestures, becoming remarkably attuned to human communication, while humans benefited from dogs' hunting abilities, guarding capabilities, and companionship. The emotional bond, many people feel with their pets reflects the deep mammalian capacity for attachment, with pets activating the same caregiving and bonding systems that evolved for human relationships. Cats were domesticated more recently than dogs, probably around 10,000 years ago, when agriculture attracted rodents and wild cats that hunted them, eventually leading to mutual tolerance and then deliberate keeping of cats. The domestication of livestock, including sheep, goats, cattle, and pigs, transformed human life by providing reliable protein sources, materials like wool and leather, and labor for plowing and transport. These domesticated animals co-evolved with humans, with selective breeding creating animals quite different from their wild ancestors, adapted to human needs and tolerant of human proximity. Human impact on wild animals has been profound, with hunting pressure and habitat destruction driving many species to extinction, while creating new niches that some species exploit successfully. The human capacity to care about animal welfare, to feel compassion for animals and work to protect them, extends moral concern beyond our own species. Though this capacity is variably expressed across individuals and cultures. As you rest tonight, perhaps you share your space with a pet whose companionship enriches your life, their presence a reminder of the connections possible between species, the capacity for interspecies understanding and affection. Or perhaps you live alone, but know that you share this planet with millions of other species, each following their own evolutionary path, each playing their role in Earth's ecosystems. The diversity of life on Earth, the millions of species occupying every conceivable environment, demonstrates evolution's creative power, its ability to produce endless variations on the theme of life. You are one expression of life among millions, unique in your human consciousness and capabilities, yet also simply one more species trying to survive and thrive in a complex world. Let yourself feel kinship with all living things, recognizing that all life shares common ancestry, that the basic biochemistry operating in your cells operates in bacteria, plants, and animals worldwide. You are not separate from nature but part of it, not above other species but alongside them, sharing this planet and dependent on the ecosystems that sustain all life. Rest now in your place within the web of life, one thread among countless others, individual yet interconnected, unique yet part of the larger whole, temporary yet participating in the ongoing flow of life through time. The future of human evolution remains uncertain, with modern technology and medicine altering selection pressures in ways that make predictions difficult. Medical interventions that allow people with genetic conditions to survive and reproduce mean that genes that would have been eliminated by natural selection now persist in populations. Though this raises no moral concerns, as human worth is not determined by genetic fitness. Modern mobility and global communication are increasing genetic mixing between previously isolated populations, reducing genetic differences between groups and potentially increasing overall genetic diversity within populations. Cultural evolution continues to accelerate with technology, allowing ever faster transmission and modification of ideas, practices, and social structures. Though whether this produces genuine progress or simply change remains debatable. Some speculate about directed evolution through genetic engineering, with humans deliberately modifying their own genome to enhance capabilities or eliminate diseases. Possibilities that raise profound ethical questions. Whatever technologies develop, humans will remain biological organisms subject to evolutionary processes. Though the specific selection pressures and evolutionary outcomes may differ from those of our past. Your children and grandchildren, if you have them, will face a world different from yours, just as your world differs from that of your ancestors. Each generation, adapting to new challenges and opportunities. The deep evolutionary heritage you carry will persist even as circumstances change, your descendants still needing food and water, sleep and social connection. The basic requirements of human life that technology may facilitate but cannot eliminate. As you rest now, you can release worries about the future, trusting that life will continue adapting as it always has, humans continuing to survive and evolve as circumstances change. The same flexibility and creativity that allowed your ancestors to thrive in diverse environments will serve your descendants. The human capacity for innovation and cooperation, enabling adaptation to whatever future challenges arise. Sleep peacefully knowing that you are part of an ongoing story, a chain of life extending from the ancient past into the unknown future. Your own life, a link connecting what came before to what comes after. Let go of the burden of controlling or predicting the future, accepting that you can only influence the present, only live this moment. Only take care of yourself and those you love right here and now. The mystery of existence, the question of why there is something rather than nothing, why the universe exists and why you exist within it, has no scientific answer and may be ultimately unanswerable. You are here through an incomprehensibly long chain of causes, stretching back to the origin of the universe, every event necessary for your existence. The probability of you specifically existing essentially zero, yet here you are anyway. This improbability makes your existence precious, makes every moment valuable, makes consciousness itself a gift even if it's temporary and bounded by uncertainty. You didn't choose to exist, didn't earn or deserve existence, but simply find yourself here, aware, alive, conscious, for reasons that may never be fully understood. This can be either terrifying or liberating, either a source of anxiety about meaninglessness or an invitation to create your own meaning, to define your own purpose, to decide what matters to you. As you rest now, you can release the pressure of needing ultimate answers, accepting that some questions remain open, that uncertainty is inherent to existence. That meaning can be found even without cosmic justification. Your life has whatever meaning you give it, whatever purposes you pursue, whatever connections you forge, whatever contributions you make, whatever joy you experience and share. Sleep now in peace, accepting mystery, embracing uncertainty, trusting in the basic goodness of existence even without understanding its ultimate nature or purpose. You are here now, alive and conscious, connected to all that is. And that is enough, that is everything, that is the miracle worth celebrating. Rest deeply, completely, utterly, surrendering to sleep's embrace, allowing consciousness to fade, returning to the unconscious state from which you emerge each morning. The darkness that makes light possible, the emptiness that allows fullness, the rest that enables activity. Good night, beautiful human being, product of billions of years of evolution, temporary expression of eternal patterns, stardust contemplating stars, consciousness experiencing itself. Mystery wrapped in flesh, wonder taking breath, sleep now, rest completely, dream peacefully, good night, good night, good night. And so we end where we began, with breath and presence, with the simple fact of your existence, here now in this moment, alive and aware. Part of the grand story of evolution that continues through you. May your sleep be deep and restorative. May your dreams be peaceful. May you wake refreshed and renewed, ready for another day of this beautiful, improbable existence. Sleep well, rest deeply, good night forever and always. You magnificent expression of life's creativity, you beloved child of evolution, you temporary miracle, good night.